In today's world, what might it mean to live well?
Cut through the absolute overwhelm of the wellness world that we live in today.
According to Hindu philosophy, Lakshmi represents 12 forms of wealth. It requires presence.
What I think we all need to lean into is our bodies remake ourselves every year. So just because now this younger generation is sicker than their parents or grandparents doesn't mean that they have to be.
Every human being begins to discover that one of the most important forms of wealth is their health.
Every single cell has the exact same DNA in it. It's just finding out, what do you need? What do your symptoms, what are they telling you? And where should you start?
Identify the elements of wellness, to embrace the seasons of wellness, and to understand we are inherently well.
Welcome. You have entered the realm of 1111 Talk Radio. Your host is Simran. It's time to discover your own language with the universe. Empower yourself, broaden your mind, open your heart, and discover who you are. Now, here's your host, Simran.
I often contemplate this skin sack, this incredible spacesuit that we arrive in that allows us to navigate our entire lives, that we often take so much for granted. And yet, this is probably the most technologically advanced piece of equipment on the planet. When I think about my head, is it possible that my ears are their own form of antenna and that they have all manner of points that connect to different organs in the body? And is it possible that my mouth, my teeth, are the console? Are our teeth and our mouths really telling us a lot more about ourselves than we ever even knew, particularly in regard to the wellness of this incredible instrument that we get to travel in? Today, we are going to be talking about living well from the standpoint that health is wealth. And in today's world, where there's so many discussions and controversies about food, what to eat, whether to be vegan, whether to eat meat, whether we're supposed to go according to our blood type, whether to buy food from the grocery store that's all around the edges, or whether some of the items that are in the aisles are okay, it can be confusing. But it's time to get down to the nitty-gritty of what this entire body is having to do for us and how we might support it by simply learning how to live well. My guest today is Dr. Michelle Jorgensen, a former traditional dentist turned holistic health pioneer who helps exhausted, health-conscious people finally feel like themselves again by starting where their health actually begins, your cells. She's the founder of Living Well with Dr. Michelle and the author of a beautiful new book called Living Well with Dr. Michelle, a comprehensive handbook for optimal health and unlimited energy. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Dr. Michelle to 1111 Talk Radio.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here today.
It is quite the comprehensive book, and I think in today's world, because we move so fast and we have become a society that is continuously distracted, constantly grabbing at things just to be the quick fix, this is a more important conversation than ever, because we have to move away from the ideology of trying to fix the problem and move really more towards what can we proactively do to maintain this beautiful instrument that we've gotten with the inherent wellness that exists within it. Reframe for us what wellness really is.
You know, that's really a great question, because when we talk about medicine or wellness or healthcare in today's world, we're often just talking about, what do we do once we're not well? You know, when do we go to the doctor? When we already have symptoms, when we already have problems. That's not wellness. If you think about a plant, if you wait until the leaves are brown and falling off of the plant and it's drooping and wilting, it's long past well. Our symptoms are just like those drooping, wilted leaves on that plant. They are telling us that we are past well as well. First of all, if you are in that stage and you have symptoms that you're already experiencing, to figure out how to return to wellness, but ideally to never start drooping or browning or wilting or, all of those other things to begin with, to never have to experience symptoms, to never have to go down into that unwell space. And really, wellness for me means having the energy you need to live the life you want. You can't be sick if you're going to do that. And there are ways to help your cells be well, which if your cells are well, you're going to be well, head to toe. That's really the goal of this, is how do we prevent that sickness that we all just associate with healthcare today?
You're really approaching it from this cell well model that you have come up with. And when I think about the body, it is like its own universe or its own land, and the cells are like all the populace of people. And if the cells are not operating well or at optimal capacity, then systems will break down. We have to really go down to the very center of who we are and begin from there. Talk a little bit about the cell well model.
Let's back up a little bit. What is a cell? People hear about it, but honestly, it's been interesting as I've been talking a lot about this book. Even the word cell, often people don't understand what I'm saying. They think I'm meaning sell, like I'm going to sell you something, or even sail, like I'm going to sail a boat, or, it's been really interesting to even get down to what that word means. You started off by saying we're this skin sac. How many cells are in that skin sac? What is that made of? And the skin sac itself is made of cells. So there are 37 trillion cells in our bodies. There are so many cells. That alone can be very overwhelming to think, well, how can I take care of every single one of them? Do they each have their own needs? Do they each have their own specific things that we need to do to keep them well? And the answer is no. Through a lot of research and study and experience with patients over 25 plus years, I found that there are 4 things that every cell needs. Every cell. So every cell needs supplies. And this is one that's quite intuitive to us. We talk about this all the time. You even mentioned a few in what you've said thus far. Do we eat vegan food? Do we eat things from around the edges of the grocery store? So supplies are what we give our cells, the things that we put into our bodies. It might be food. It might also be water. It might also be air. Those are all supplies that our cells need to be able to continue operating as they should. That's number one. That one seems to make sense to people. I have an interesting story about that. A woman who was just losing her hair, and she's a good friend of mine. And she called me one day just in desperation and said, I've literally pulled a handful of hair out in the shower when I was washing my hair today. And she was so worried and so concerned. And so we started talking about this idea of supplies, that cells need certain supplies and hair cells need minerals. So she said, well, I eat really well. And I know her, she does. She eats beautifully from around the edges of the store. But we really dug into her lifestyle and found that she's a runner. So she would get home from a long run, hit the shower, hit the day, never really replenish anything that she had sweated out. So she was losing minerals that way. But a second thing that was happening is she'd gotten a new filter on her system, her water system at her kitchen sink. And it was great because it was taking out all the contaminants and fluoride and chlorine and things in her water that she didn't want. But it was also taking out the minerals. And she didn't realize this and didn't realize how dangerous it could be. She was drinking demineralized water pretty much exclusively after she got this special filter. So now her body was just depleting minerals. She was sweating them out and she wasn't replenishing them in her water. Her water was what we call hungry water. RO water or distilled water, both are what we call hungry water. They don't have minerals, so they actually steal minerals from you to make themselves kind of complete. So she was so mineral deficient, her hair was starting to fall out. So we just switched 2 things. She started drinking electrolytes after every run, and she added mineral drops back to her RO water at her sink. And all of a sudden, within about a month's time, her hair wasn't falling out anymore. So it's really quite simple when we think from a supply standpoint. And that one, like I said, we kind of get. Supplies, it's the things we give. The next one is support. This one's not quite as intuitive. So if you think about a city, even where you live, anybody who's listening, you probably put your garbage out somewhere, right? You take it to the dumpster or you put a can out on the edge of your driveway, whatever it might be, wherever you live, you get rid of your garbage. Well, our body actually has a lot of garbage built up as well as it goes through all of its processes. That garbage has to be dumped somehow. And we do have a garbage disposal system. It's called the lymphatic system in the body. Well, the lymphatic system doesn't have a pump, so it doesn't move on its own. It's kind of like, garbage truck that doesn't have an engine. It doesn't actually move on its own. So we have to move it. So I talk in the book a lot about dry brushing and ways to actually move that lymphatic system, which is your garbage disposal system. So this is the support that cells need. They need a little bit of, those support services. So there was a woman I was working with. She actually supplied her cells beautifully. She was of Indian descent. She was using a lot of turmeric and other herbs and things and spices in her cooking. But she just had these swollen fingers that were so sore all the time. So I showed her how to just do a simple lymphatic massage on her fingers to bring the tissue or the fluid from the fingers up towards the armpit, which I call the garbage disposal. That's the garbage disposal on the top of the body is the armpit. Just to literally kind of just take each finger and go from the bottom of the fingernail up the arm and just move the fluid up. Within a couple of days, no more swollen fingers because she was giving her cells the support they needed to dump the garbage. So that's number 2. Number 3 is security. This one is all about defending your cells. So making sure that they don't have bacteria, viruses, fungus, toxins, contaminants, those kinds of things that are really compromising the way they're able to work. And this was an interesting one. The story I love to tell about this is a woman she was a singer, beautiful singer. And she said she never took a gig from between about November through like March. And I asked her why in the world she wouldn't, because that was a really busy time, usually a lot of holidays and things. And she said, I just never know if I'm going to be well. I said, there's no reason we have to just stand at the ready, waiting for whatever's going to come along and make us sick. So we started a protocol. She started taking oregano oil, vitamin C, and elderberry, which are 3 things that help to defend the cells every single day. She has not gotten sick since, and it's about 1.5 years now. So that's the security piece. Every cell needs security. The 4th one is signals. And this one is, again, something people often don't get. What does signals mean? Well, our cells have to talk to each other. Just like in a city, you have to have communication between the public works department and the city hall. And, everybody has to actually talk to each other to actually make things work right. Same goes in our body. So these signals are so crucial to be able to really help our bodies work well. One of my favorite stories with this is a gentleman whose wife brought him to my practice because he was snoring. She wasn't sleeping well because he was snoring. But what that snoring actually meant, basically his air was being blocked every night. And the scary part is that he had had a heart attack about 6 months earlier, and his father had died from a heart attack at a similar age. They were terrified that he was going to die and he was going to leave her a widow. As we looked at this, the snoring was just the first sign that his oxygen was being blocked at night. Well, oxygen is the thing that helps the body signal itself. And oxygen is largely the part that helps our body communicate and gives the energy, the electrons that it needs to actually talk to each other. We did a whole bunch of work where we expanded his mouth. We did some laser work, helped him. Snoring went away. All of a sudden, his heart started beating better. Because remember, the oxygen was tied to the signals, tied to that heartbeat and the way the body works. Heart started beating better. High blood pressure went down. All of the things resolved that he was concerned about from a health standpoint, just because he was getting more oxygen, more electrons, more ability to signal his cells. So I like to tell those stories because oftentimes if I just say supplies, support, security, and signals, people are like, I don't know what that means. These 4 things, if you can take care of them, you can take care of your body and your cells, and you can be well. That's the framework that we use.
I want to go back to the first story because there's so much now, especially with social media. There's videos popping up all over the place about do this to heal this issue and do this to take care of this issue, both positive wellness and then there's negative wellness. Although that woman was using the filter for positive wellness, she was not attuned to the negativity of just doing that, maybe because that's what she thought was best. Maybe that's what she saw on social media. Maybe that was what has been grilled in that we need to go clean up everywhere. What is not only correct to implement, but what's correct for us individually? Because aren't we all a little different and take a little bit different care of ourselves when it comes to wellness?
Yes, this is such a great point because her knowledge wasn't wrong. Her knowledge about cleaning up her water, getting fluoride out of the water, chlorine out of that wasn't wrong, but it was incomplete. Also, she hadn't realized that it was also removing minerals, and she didn't understand what minerals did for her body. Minerals literally carry electrons to our cells. So when we talk about drinking an electrolyte in the morning, what we're doing is we're actually talking about adding energy. So electrolytes are an energy drink. People don't realize this. Energy drinks, the highly caffeinated versions, are covering up your cell symptoms. Electrolytes just support your cells in doing what they already know to do. So this is the key point. It's a tricky line to walk because, yes, everybody is different. However, every cell isn't. Every cell does require the same things. I'm going to share just a brief version of my own personal story, how I really got to this point to begin with. I'm a dentist. I was practicing with my father. He's also a dentist. He's still practicing in his late 70s. Like he's just, I thought that that would be me forever. An Energizer bunny, just forever doing what I loved and keeping going. And about 10 years into practice, I started getting really sick. And so I started seeing doctor after doctor, changing all of my food. We threw away all of our food, got rid of all the boxes and started doing all of the things and helped a little bit, but not a lot. My challenges were gut issues. I couldn't even drink water sometimes without pain. My memory was just slipping. I couldn't complete sentences. I couldn't remember patients' names from room to room. But the big one was numbness. I had terrible, painful, numb hands, numb arms. I couldn't sleep at night. I couldn't hold a pen. And I started not being able to hold my dental instruments anymore. I'd lost dexterity. We didn't know what to do. I was in my mid-30s, 4 young kids. This was the entire livelihood for our family. My husband worked for the practice too. So we were in a really bad place. And I put the practice up for sale. Didn't know what I was going to do. And in trying to figure out that next step, I talked with another practitioner and he said, have you ever looked into mercury as a potential problem? And I said, I don't know what you mean. I mean, I knew that silver fillings in mouths, silver dental fillings have mercury in them. I was taught that in dental school. But I said, but I don't have any fillings and I was taught they're completely safe. And he said, well, isn't it worth getting tested just to be sure? So I got tested for mercury and I had mercury levels off the charts. And mercury is a neurotoxin. So it was from me drilling out fillings from my patients' mouths. I had been a cosmetic dentist for about 10 years. And so people didn't like the way these fillings looked. I was drilling them out. Mercury vaporizes when you drill on it. And where's the dentist's head in relation to the patient's mouth? It's right above, and vapor always rises. So I literally was filling my head and my body full of mercury, and it was just frying my entire nervous system. So to be able to get well, I had to try to figure out, first of all, how to not put it in. So I had to figure out, were there ways to do what I was doing and do it safely? I found out there were, and that completely changed my practice. I didn't, I said, what in the world else do I not know about dentistry that I need to know? So I went on a 15-year journey to figure that out. And my practice now, basically, we help people who aren't well, and we figure out how does the mouth connect. But in doing that, I had to figure out, what was I going to do for myself? How was I going to help myself get well? So I started studying all kinds of different methodologies. Ayurveda from India, Chinese traditional medicine, Sasong medicine from Korea, German herbalism, Native American medicine. Like I started studying everything, saying, certainly there's got to be something here that could be useful for me. And I got to exactly where you're talking about, this absolute point of overwhelm. What in the world is right? What do I not know that I need to know to actually make these things work for me? Where do I need to go first? Where do I start? All of these questions. I lived this. And what I realized is all of those methodologies had some things really in common. And you mentioned them at the beginning. They all talked about the seasons of the earth, and they all talked about the elements of the earth. And really, if you think about it, it's something that's common to all of us. Like you, wherever you are and wherever every listener is, we all live on the same earth. We all know what water is. We all know what plants are. We all know what the earth is. We all know what spring looks like. We all know these things. So I created a symptoms assessment to take that every person is different and actually say, okay, how can we make that difference, but figure out where to start? So I've created what's called the seasons assessment, where you plug your symptoms in. And what it does is it tells you where to start. It says, based on your symptoms, you feel lack of motivation. You can't get out of bed in the morning. You feel bloated. You're putting on a little weight. You're just sluggish. Guess what needs help first? Your liver and your gallbladder. So then I teach you how to take care of your liver and your gallbladder. So yes, everybody's a little different. However, our cells give us similar symptoms. So if our liver and gallbladder is struggling, your symptoms are going to be similar to my symptoms. And your liver is going to respond similarly to how mine will. So yes, it's personal and that every person's body may not need the same thing right now, but what they need isn't just unique to you and I. Every liver needs something very similar. It's just finding out, what do you need? What do your symptoms, what are they telling you? And where should you start? And that's where that assessment comes in, to just try to cut through the absolute overwhelm of the wellness world that we live in today and give you enough information to do what you need to get that energy and wellness you're looking for.
Find out more about the assessment at livingwellbook.com, along with Dr. Michelle's book, Living Well with Dr. Michelle. It is partially nature and partially nurture. We grow up in these environments that kind of tell us how to eat, show us the behaviors to have. There are all these things that can impact us from our environments, and yet we are nature. We are those seasons. We are the elements. Through the Cell-Well model, which has 4 essential divisions. Step 1, supply essential nutrients and oxygen. Step 2, support the cellular environment and waste removal. Step 3, secure immune response and detoxification. And Step 4, signal for communication and cell stress response. Throughout Living Well with Dr. Michelle, you will dive deeply into this model and learn in detail how it works. You'll also learn how to create personalized Cell-Well formulas that you can apply to your specific health and wellness needs. And finally, you'll learn how to power up your cells so that you can live well. Again, go to livingwellbook.com, pick up your copy of Living Well with Dr. Michelle, a comprehensive handbook for optimal health and unlimited energy, and be sure to do the assessment so that you can see what you need right now. Join my Substack. My publication is Beyond the Illusion, and you can find it at iamsimran1111.substack.com. That link is in the bio description. You'll actually receive all of the 1111 magazine issues on audio as part of that, in addition to the weekly prompt, inquiry, contemplation, and meditation that I provide to all of the subscribers on the annual membership. That link is in the bio description. We'll be right back after these messages.
You are listening to 1111 Talk Radio. Simran is an award-winning author, publisher of 1111 Magazine, powerful speaker of wisdom, and a life mentor. Find out more at iamsimran.com. Now, back to 1111 Talk Radio.
I really enjoy working individually with people. If you're looking for some additional support and guidance, and you really want to dive into the subtle, then there are quite a few options on my website at iamsimran.com that have to do with shadow work or manifestation if you want a more focused approach on a particular thing, as well as individual sessions around deciphering signs, symbols, and synchronicities, gaining a better understanding of how the universe is speaking to you, your particular dialect. That link is in the bio description. While the Cell-Well model is new, wellness, the goal of the model, is not, and it is time to take charge of your health. So first you're going to learn about the foundations of wellness. That is part 1 of the book. Part 2, you move into the elements of wellness, really understanding who you are inside and how that relates to outside. And then part 3 has to do with the seasons of wellness, so that you get to know the seasons and how you can utilize them for your own support. Alongside that, in the appendix, there are recipes, there are well home cleaning products, there are body products, and other recommendations for you to really develop your own regimen and routine when it comes to living well. Check out more at livingwellbook.com, and the book is titled Living Well with Dr. Michelle, a comprehensive handbook for optimal health and unlimited energy. I think about my son who is in high school now, and he's in school for 9 hours a day, and then he comes home and he's got 6 hours worth of homework and the stress that impacts. There are all these things that can impact us from our environments, and yet we are nature. We are those seasons. We are the elements within our own bodies. So how do we figure out how to balance these two so that we support ourselves?
You know, I talk in the book a lot about this concept of epigenetics. And this is something that's really been studied heavily in science today. Because People don't often realize this. We were probably all taught it in high school, like your son, that every single cell has the exact same DNA in it. Isn't that interesting? So your fingernail cell has the exact same DNA that your kidney cell has, but they don't function the same way at all, right? They're completely different. So how does that work? On that DNA, depending on where the cell is, it actually uses information about from its neighborhood, just like you're talking about. Your son's figured out how to do high school because he's watched others in high school, right? If a stem cell, this word's been thrown around a lot, but a lot of people don't know what it means. A stem cell means a baby cell that hasn't turned into anything yet. It hasn't decided what it wants to be when it grows up yet. So that stem cell, it says, all right, which neighborhood am I landing in? I'm landing in the kidney neighborhood. I'm going to watch all the other kidney cells, and now I'm going to figure out what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to figure out which part of that DNA I should read to be able to be a kidney cell. So we are very similar to our cells. We will adapt based on the environment we're in. Your son has figured out how to be a high schooler because he's watched other high schoolers. However, in a few years, depending on how old he is, he's going to go to college, right? Hopefully, or he'll move into the workforce. And then he will learn what he needs to be as a college student or as a worker by watching those that are around him. This is the epigenetic piece. We can change. We don't change our DNA. The DNA itself stays the same. It's always the same in every single cell. But the way that that DNA is read, I liken this to like sticky notes and dog-eared pages when you're reading a book or underlined phrases. We can read certain parts of a book based on what the first time we read it, we said, oh man, that page was so great. We dog-eared the page. So then when we come back to the book later, we go, I want to turn right to that dog-eared page. That's my favorite page to read. Your DNA has the same. We get these markings on it that actually change the way that the DNA is read, and that's called epigenetics. So we are able not to change the DNA, but to change the way the DNA is read. And the amazing thing is that every single cell remakes itself every single year. Some of our cells remake themselves like every week. The body you're living in today will be completely new in a year's time. Isn't that amazing? What that means is we don't need to change our DNA. That's all the genetic pieces. That's hard. We can change the way the DNA is read by the choices we make, by the position or the environment that we're putting our bodies in. So if we're feeding our bodies different food, if we're taking away, like if we're filtering EMFs that come from our cell phones, if we are drinking different water, if we are exercising in a different way, it's going to change the way your DNA is read inside of every single cell, which means the next time that cell remakes itself, it's going to make itself a little differently. So you can have a new you within a year's time or less. That to me is amazing. So it's nature, all about nature, but the environment can change the way that that nature is interpreted inside of every single cell.
It's a really empowering outlook to have when it comes to health and people are in a state where they're trying to combat symptoms that have already developed. It's very easy to go into victim consciousness, but to now know that we can empower ourselves, take charge of that health in a new way by our actions. I wanted to ask if you can provide some distinction based on everything that you've already said between health, disease, and wellness.
This is really something I think is important for us to understand in our world today, because health and disease go hand in hand, right? They're kind of the black and the white, or the yin and the yang of our world. So if we're healthy, that means we are not in a disease state currently. If we're in disease, that means our cells aren't working well. They're not healthy. But wellness is completely different from that. Wellness is not even getting into that cycle of getting unwell, then having to get ourselves out of that. It's avoiding that health disease roundabout where you just keep going round and round and round to this. We're sick and then we're well and then we're sick and then we're like, it's moving out of that and saying, I actually just don't want to get sick at all ever. And some people will say, well, that's not possible. And I understand that. That's probably not completely possible in our world, but it's absolutely possible to decrease those cycles, to just say, I actually just want more energy and I want to feel well and I want to be able to live the life I want to live. I want to know how to support my cells in doing that. So wellness is a little different. The other two words that I think would be good to define at this time is lifespan and health span. because there's a lot of anti-aging and longevity medicine talk right now. Everybody's wanting to live forever. That sounds fine, but there's actually a lot of research that shows that while longevity is increasing or lifespan is increasing, health span is not. And what is health span? Health span is the amount of years that you are living to basically this point of wellness, living the way you want to live. You're able to care for yourself. You're able to feed yourself. You're able to tie your own shoes. You're able to, get out of bed on your own. You're able to do all of these things. That's health span, living the life the way you want it, versus lifespan is just alive. So right now, it's actually really a hard time for my husband and his family. His parents are 88 and 89, and they are currently living in a care center. My father-in-law had been caring for my mother-in-law, who has kind of mild dementia. He'd been caring for her at home until April of this year. He fell in the shower and actually fractured his sacrum, kind of the lowest bone in your back. And within about 2 days, he wasn't able to get himself out of bed anymore. Well, he was her caretaker, so we didn't have an option. So they've been living in a care center since April, and I have been shocked to see the decline in their wellness as they have lived, in this place for the last 6 months or so. I have watched their lifespan continue, but their health span just absolutely stop. They're not healthy anymore. And wellness is living the length of your life, having the length be the same as the health span, having your lifespan be equal to your health span. I don't want to live long if I'm not living well. I want to live long and live well. And research shows that a large percentage of the population does not have health span past about 65 years old, meaning you're not going to be able to get yourself out of bed or tie your own shoes or take care of your own food. Well, that's only 10 years away from me. There's no way I want to be done doing any of those things within 10 years' time. I want to live to 100, and I want my health span to be like 99.9 years and then live to 100. That's really what wellness is about. It's about living well every single year that you're alive.
The quality of life has to be important. We are living longer. I do believe that our consciousness and our understanding of what it means to be healthier is more ingrained in younger generations as we go. Do you feel like there is an opportunity, if we really got present from the earlier ages, to live this way that you're proposing in this book, that we can actually live longer and live into wellness?
Yes, I do. And unfortunately, what's happening in our country, in the United States now, but even internationally, everywhere globally, is that's the opposite. For the first time in history, our children are sicker than their parents or grandparents were at the same age. So even though there's this increase in understanding and discussion and availability of information, it's not translating to what we're seeing in our children. That to me is a little terrifying. Why has the information that we have not translated into an increase in wellness in the younger generations? And I know that there's probably a lot of, thoughts about where this could have gotten off track. But again, what I think we all need to lean into is our bodies remake ourselves every year. So just because now this younger generation is sicker than their parents or grandparents doesn't mean that they have to be, that this has to continue. They can remake their bodies, their stem cells are young and spry. So they can remake themselves even faster than my body can at, 52 years old. It's really important that we really think about what do these decisions mean for our bodies. I talk to people every single day, and they'll say things like, I do all of the right things. I'm eating like this. I'm moving like this. I'm taking, and they bring their supplements in, and they like have 57 supplements in a box that they're taking every day. And I look at this and I think, okay, I actually think that the wellness world has gotten off track. That's really the health world, the healthcare world. The wellness world is, let's step back and say, do we need 57 supplements, or could we just eat some blueberries today? Could we actually get the same value there as those supplements? In the book, I talk a lot about this as well. The answer is yes. In fact, often simplifying your routine brings you closer to wellness rather than just adding more on. Simplifying and really personalizing it, saying, okay, again, let's go back to the seasons a little bit. My body right now is in a spring season. So that means that my liver and gallbladder needs more help. Well, in a spring season, you are detoxing, you're re-energizing. So the last thing I want you to do is to be on a keto diet. So this is not the time for that. I'm going to talk to you about what it is time for from a detox standpoint. You're going to have lighter foods, a lot of green foods, things like that. What it does is it helps simplify your lifestyle down to the things that your body is actually asking for. And that's where I think we've gotten off track in the wellness world today, is we are just trying everything, every supplement, every program, every plan, every diet program, every exercise plan, rather than saying, oh, wait a minute, what does my body need right now? And let's just make it very, very simple. Just a few things. This is what my body's asking for. Let's translate what it's saying into action. And that's really what the assessment in the book helps you to do as well. So it helps you translate those symptoms and say, this is what my body needs, and this is what I'm going to do for it.
If someone wanted to really take their health to the next level and they followed this book, they're going to make some drastic changes and have a different experience in a year. But there's a foundational piece even beneath that, because I think it's highly important. And that has to do with the individual's presence to themselves and willing to love themselves enough, because self-love is a big part of this conversation.
I love that. I really feel like our bodies have become very much a foreign entity to us. Even the words have changed. Instead of food, we talk about protein. We talk about carbs. We talk about fat. Instead of muscles and movement, we talk about HIIT workouts. I know that the word dissociation is used in, mental health situations and scenarios, but I think it's actually appropriate in this situation as well. We have dissociated from our bodies. We don't even really feel like we're living inside of them, or we have control over what they're doing and what's happening to them. And that really is wrong. People are becoming so hyper-focused on perfectionism, eating the perfect food, drinking the perfect water, having the perfect workout, all of these things to a perfectionist state. It's actually created even a new anomaly or a new problem that people are facing, this perfectionism. It's putting us at odds with ourselves. We're trying to biohack our way to health. We're trying to change who we are and what we have and manipulate it through different systems and programs and exercise movements, instead of saying, this is me. I am these 37 trillion cells. They are all mine. I am in control of them and my wellness. And what I do helps all of me. And what I say helps all of me. And what I believe helps all of me. And every single one of those cells is just waiting for you to take charge and say, hey guys, guess what? Today is going to be an amazing day. And I am so grateful for you and everything that you did for me yesterday. I mean, look how far we walked yesterday. That was incredible. And when you thought of that, brain, wow, that was an amazing thought you had. Good work up there. When you start to realize that you are actually the CEO of everything going on inside of you, you are the mayor of this city, you are the one in charge, and the way that you approach everything is the way your body will also respond. That is when you truly experience wellness, because you are not at odds with your body. You are your body. Your thoughts are the things that are their messages. Basically, your thoughts are their emails, their texts, it's the only way they know to respond. And that alone, I love that you brought it up, because that alone can change every single cell in the way it works. And research has proven this. When you have, positive thoughts and positive affirmations, that all of a sudden cancer cells start to shrink. Why? Because your body's immune cells, which are the ones that are attacking those cancer cells, they all of a sudden got a pep talk. And they went, whoa, yeah, we do have this. Yeah, no, we are not going to let those guys take over. No, this is our body. This is my body. And I am the one that's in charge here. This is absolutely crucial to wellness.
Oftentimes, many of these hacks are a way, an unconscious way of escapism as well. So to return to a place of presence and begin to communicate with the self, it does create that intimacy where we are partnering with the body in the way that you said, in the communications. The cells communicate with each other. And I think people might have an understanding that we are like an electrical system, But you mention other ways of communication within the book as well. Can you speak about those?
Yes, cells talk to each other just like people talk to each other. There are, we can talk on the cell phone. So there's, ways that you can actually call a cell. Cells can talk to each other electrically. They can send electrons back and forth with one another. But I can also talk to you in person, right? I can just walk up to you and I can chat and we can give each other a hug, and cells can do the same, actually. They can talk to each other literally because they are sitting next to each other. A lot of stretching and pulling and even muscle movement happens this way, and bone formation happens this way, where if you put a lot of weight on your bones, they will respond accordingly by building themselves stronger. And that's a cell response because of the communication it received. Oh, my cells are squishing together. My bone cells are squishing together. We need to make ourselves bigger, boys. All right. Okay, got it. Cells will communicate by doing that. They will also, like I said, send signals to each other, send little messengers. So I can also talk to you by sending my daughter over to your house, and she can knock on your door and talk to you, right? So there's ways that cells talk to each other. These are all part of the way we're already engineered. That's amazing. So when you give yourselves these positive thoughts and positive confirmations, even if you just during the dry brushing, you're taking that garbage and moving it up your arm. What you're doing is the physical contact. That's giving each other a hug. That's giving your cells a hug. They're feeling that physical contact. They're feeling that physical movement. That's a way to communicate, hey guys, I'm helping you out here. Isn't this awesome? We're doing something good together. Versus if I'm just thinking and saying, all right, brain, yep, you got this. No, you really do have this. I know you can't think of this at the moment, but I bet in about 5 minutes you're going to come up with it. We're going to figure this out together. That's the electrical communication that my brain's sending to each other, to all those brain cells. So just like we talk to people, our cells talk to each other as well. And there is so much communication that's happening on a second by second, millisecond by millisecond basis in our bodies that things can change quickly. And that's what I love to tell people is just because you are today what you are and your wellness is what it is today doesn't mean it has to be that way, even in 30 minutes from now, even in a day from now, even in a week from now. Every single thing you provide your cells, especially in form of communication, will change the way that they are working. And when you've seen this, even with your kids, right? Your son, I'm sure when you say, oh man, you did a lousy job on cleaning your room yesterday. I sure wish you'd do better versus, wow, I can see a foot of the floor in your bedroom today. That is awesome. I'd love to see 2 feet tomorrow. Just that alone changes the way that your son acts, and our cells do the same. So that cell communication is really powerful.
I believe that when we come in with this physical body of perfection, that it has all the systems in place to do exactly everything that we need, from the elimination to the growth to providing each other the communication that it needs. But then what we put onto the body as stressors, as things that are not healthy, that creates the impact to where we have to have some added things like detoxification. That too has become, in a way, a fad for many people, or a trend that they want to follow, as opposed to timing when the body actually needs it. Can you speak a little to the positive and negative effects of detoxing, or when it's right or wrong to detox?
Yes, I think this is really an important point because the body actually is very well equipped to defend itself. And thankfully, because our world is full of things that we have to defend ourselves against. I mean, we get invaders in our water, we get invaders in our air, we get things that come in through our food, we get things that come in electrically through the things that we're fed in our minds. There are so many things that our body actually has to deal with on a daily basis. And thankfully, our body has an innate immune response, an innate detoxification system. It has all of these things, but sometimes it gets gummed up, right? Sometimes it's just too much for that innate system. Again, it's just like any city, sometimes the sewer may back up in those pipes if things aren't flowing like they should. So when do you know that it's time to do that? I think that's your question. When do you know that that's what is needed? That's the symptoms assessment. So what the symptoms assessment is you take your current state. You say, okay, today I have, and it's a whole list of symptoms. And all you're going to do is say, yes, I have this. No, I don't have that. You're just going to click through the yeses. Based on the yeses, it's going to tell you which system needs help first. So I keep talking about spring. That is the detox. That is the detox time. And that is when the liver and gallbladder need help. So if your symptoms show you that yes, your liver and gallbladder need help first, you are in detox time. Spring is detox. But that's only one of 5 seasons. Your cells might also say, no, actually, my heart is racing. My heart, I don't know, things aren't going well here, and I'm hot all the time. I just can't regulate my temperature. Menopause women, this might be you. You are in a summer season. Now we're going to work on heart and stomach. That's where we're going to focus. Detox is the wrong thing for you. The next is harvest season. Harvest is all about earth. This is all about the spleen. This is about the intestines. This is about the immune system. This is about everything kind of grounding itself and getting well. This is not a time to detox. The next one is fall. This is fall and air. This is about your lungs, your large intestine. This is about being able to lung health and bronchial health. So if you are expressing these kinds of symptoms, detox is not the right thing. Winter is all about water. So this is your urinary system, your bladder, your kidneys. This is about replenishing and nourishing, not about detoxing. So if you are in a winter water season, your kidneys need help, and you're going to go through a big detox program, you are actually going to stress your body more than what you're going to give any benefit for. So the seasons assessment is your translator. It tells you, am I in a detox season, which is only one of 5? Or am I in one of these others? Now, the seasons will change. So every single body is going to go through all of these seasons on probably a yearly basis. It's not always a year, but it's about a year's time. You're going to go through every single one of these seasons. So you will have a time your liver and gallbladder need some help, but it might not be right now. For me, it's not right now. Right now, I am actually in a winter. My kidneys, my urinary system, all of that is where I am focusing right now. So I am not detoxing because that is the wrong thing to do right now.
So there's a distinction, the seasons of an individual in terms of where they are in their wellness and health versus the actual seasons and the kinds of things that are growing in that season that naturally support our health and wellness.
Yes. So thank you for asking this because this is where a lot of confusion usually does come. It is always good to follow the seasons of the earth where you live. However, most of us don't anymore. Grocery stores are open 24/7. I can get something from Ecuador right now, that is not even close to growing in my yard right now. So a lot of people don't actually live with the seasons and don't even know how to because our world just doesn't support that anymore. We don't have, we don't walk out our back doors to get our food. We walk to the grocery store and anything is available at any time. So that seasonal living is actually not very intuitive for many people anymore. But if you can follow the seasons, it's always beneficial to do so. So if you do live with the seasons, if you can look at your grocery store and see the things that say locally grown, that's all great for you right now. But the seasons of your body is completely different. So right now I am in a harvest season at home, right? That's the time of the year at home for me. And my garden, I do have a garden. My garden is just literally spitting out like 50 tomatoes a day. It's crazy talk. But my body is in a winter. I am not doing all of the things that typically you would do in a summer season. I am in a winter season. I'm eating a lot of blackberries and blueberries and kidney beans and a lot of dark foods. And I'm drinking a lot of water. I'm really getting a lot of fluids in me right now because my body's in a winter. These are different things. Now, am I still eating the cucumbers and the tomatoes and the watermelon in my garden? For sure. But I'm also leaning into what my body specifically needs. Because so many people don't live seasonally anymore, just following your personal season is great and the place to start. But the seasons in the book are talking about the seasons of your body and what your body personally needs help with right now, irrespective of the season of the earth right now.
Dr. Michelle, it's interesting how many people in the last month have said to me, I really need to focus on my health and wellness. It just keeps going by the wayside. So if someone picks up your book, if someone takes your assessment, how is it best for them to work through this material so that they really get the most out of it? Do they read through the whole book first and then go back? Or would you tell them to do the assessment and go to that section of the book? What's the best path for them?
First of all, go to that livingwellbook.com website, get the assessment, and you're going to get a first steps guide. Those are just going to be emailed to you when you put your info in there. So you can start before you even get the book. Then when the book comes, you're going to turn to chapter 11. That's where the assessment is. You may have already taken it, which if you have, great. If you haven't, you can go to chapter 11 where the assessment is, but then go back to chapter 10, which is where I walk through every single season. So let's say you tested and you come back as a harvest season. So you're going to turn to chapter 10 and you're going to look through, what does a harvest season mean? A harvest season is all about my stomach and spleen. My organs that are related are my stomach, my spleen, my digestion, my immune foundation. Some of the things I may be experiencing, I might be bloated. I'm tired after I eat meals. Man, do I crave sugar. I'm just worrying and overthinking. And you might go, wow, that sounds exactly like me. Awesome. Then it's going to tell you what to do from a simple starting point. Okay, what are you going to do? You're going to eat warm cooked foods right now. Soup, right up your alley. So it's just going to walk you through how to start. If you can do one thing that you see a difference in your body because of, it will motivate you to do a second and a third and a fourth. You need to see results. We all need to see results to be able to make sure to say, yes, my efforts are actually worth it. It's worth doing this. So you're going to go to chapter 10. You're going to find your season. You're going to pick one thing to do right now. And then once you start to see change, you're going to then go to chapter 1 or the introduction, and you're going to go, okay, how does this really work? How does my body really work? How can I support it? And you're going to work your way through the book. But you're going to start your own Cell Well formula from day 1 so that you start to see a change. You will when you've identified which system, which season needs help first.
Thank you, Dr. Michelle, for so much valuable information and for such a powerful book. I invite everyone to go to livingwellbook.com and order your copy, take the assessment. When we think about wellness from a cellular standpoint, we see that healing and wellness are already inside of us, that we embody these principles simply through the fact that our body, if properly supported, works with single-minded effort to return to a state of wholeness. So get your copy of Living Well with Dr. Michelle, a comprehensive handbook for optimal health and unlimited energy. And take the assessment, go to chapter 11, find your season, start your Cell Well program, and then start the book at the introduction. Once again, it has been an honor. Dr. Michelle Jorgensen. She is a former traditional dentist turned holistic health pioneer who helps exhausted, health-conscious people finally feel like themselves again. She is a certified traditional naturopath, functional health practitioner, and biologic dentist who bridges the gap between medicine, nutrition, and nature. She's the creator of the Cell Well model and the author of the book Living Well with Dr. Michelle. Thank you so much for spending time. If you're looking for some additional support and guidance, and you really want to dive into the subtle, then there are quite a few options on my website at iamsimran.com that have to do with shadow work or manifestation if you want a more focused approach on a particular thing, as well as individual sessions around deciphering signs, symbols, and synchronicities, gaining a better understanding of how the universe is speaking to you, your particular dialect. That link is in the bio description. Until next week, I am Simran, in love, of love, with love, and as love. Be well.
Thank you for opening your mind to a new reality, your heart to greater compassion, and your experience of aliveness with 1111 Talk Radio. Join host Simran next Tuesday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern Time to step through the gateway of conscious living. You are not on the journey. You are the journey.